Nintendo 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 Play Guide and Review. In this week's show, we'll be taking a look at Ninja Spirit, developed by the Irem Corporation and released by Activision on the 64 in 1990. As the game loads, we are presented with a cyber load, and just like the last Ninja series, we'll also get a flashing square in the bottom corner and some loading music as well. It's great that this game gives us some loading music, and the loading from the tape version, which I used to have, really does take a long time, and you have to flip that switch to reset the tape counter halfway through. In case you die, you'll have to rewind the tape back to that position. The main introductory sequence is made out of these title screens, which are semi-reminiscent of the arcade version, which we can see the coder of this game, certain Chris Butler, and the music on offer created by Martin Walker. By pressing that fire button, we can be transformed onto that first level, and in this game we play a ninja on this horizontally scrolling game. Unfortunately, we do not have a great arsenal of weapons at our disposal, and you can see we start off with a basic sword, and that basic sword is very basic indeed, and if you get hit, well, you're going to die in this game, so you can't afford to collide with anything, not any of the enemies or the missiles either. Enemies will miraculously jump, hop and appear onto that screen, and they will start firing immediately that they do so. This means in this game you'll find yourself dying quite some time, and unless you can really romp through this at high speed, you'll quickly find the high score table. Just like the arcade, we can press fire and continue at the point where we died, and I think we get 3 continues in this game, so we are given 9 lives in total to waste across all these levels, and as you can see, I'm burning through those quicker than you would believe. By pressing the spacebar, we can toggle the weapons out of the 4 available, and the second weapon, known as throwing stars, is probably the best weapon in the entire game, and it's probably the weapon that most users will stick to. If we hold down the fire in mid-air, then we will freeze in mid-air, just like all those great Japanese movies, and we will be hung in the air so we can fire, rain down terror on those guys. But whilst we are hovering, we are also a sitting duck and a target for their firepower, and so it's sometimes best to just take on those guys directly and avoid any mid-air antics. There are a number of collectibles to pick up in the game. One of those will give us a shadow fighter, which will mirror every single maneuver that we do, and that includes hovering in midair if we hold down that fire button just to see is it mid-jump, and that can be very useful indeed. It gives us twice the firepower, but it also gives us an easy way to die. For this reason, it is very difficult to be gung-ho in this game, and sometimes avoiding enemies and avoiding their firepower is as much luck over judgment, unless you run straight through this level, straight through to the end, just like you can see me doing now. And that is the way that I used to complete this game back in the day, simply using the old Chris Butler trick of running all the way through it. And so let's just rush that level, and at the end you'll find more appearing enemies, and unlike those constantly respawning ones we found in the middle of the level, these do have a finite number to get through, and once they disappear then we'll face the end of level boss. You can see by pressing that spacebar we can also reveal dynamite and something which looks like the grappling hook from Bionic Commando, and perhaps we can swing from trees using that thing. But for the main part you'll find yourself using the stars, and perhaps the stars with their rapid fire ability make sure that they hit the target, and as long as you miss all these random elements, then sometimes you can get through to the first boss. You can see this has been a long time since I played this game, quite a number of years, maybe 10 years, and so I can't remember hardly a thing about it. This was a very expensive arcade conversion at the time, and it did cost quite some money, so expectations were high that this was at least credible. And I have played the Amiga version as well, which is even closer to the arcade, but I find the 64 version is quite good. Most of the elements are in there, and you can see most of the elements can be useful except for that grappling hook, which is absolutely useless at the best of times. Let's try the bombs, and these act like grenades. If you throw those onto the enemy, they'll have a wide burst of firepower, which can be sometimes helpful, but not in this case. In this game you'll find that the more direct route is probably easier than trying to find a safe spot on the floor, but trying to find those safe spots anyway. Yes, it is possible to get through to that first boss. You can see we have to knock him out by hitting him directly in the head, and anything else will be a wasted shot. The hitbox is in the head, so make sure you hit that, otherwise you'll have to survive. And if you can't do that, then it's all the way back to tackle those sub-bosses, those little demons, all over again. And it's hard enough having to wade through these guys for a number of rounds when all you want to do is to get through to that boss. One of the best tips is to simply stand by the exit where those guys launch, and then you can launch your own bombs and your own throwing stars in there, and that should cut down that job. And in this round, of course, the main element is to dodge all this firepower leaking from multiple angles, and all you have to do is to do that and throw in a few pot shots along the way. Now that we've figured out this Chris Butler game, let's just rush the level, and the more we can rush the level, the more we can ignore all this firepower, and the only thing that we have to do on this level is to avoid a number of items falling from the top, and unless you time those, well, you're going to die. And the jump is amazingly high, and it really is great that we have an amazing leap. But unfortunately that can throw us directly into the enemies, and they will throw themselves at the player left, right and centre, so the player will have to have memorised a certain pattern to get through this game. I seem to have memorised that pattern right now, and we're heading towards the second level boss. And this game, of course, created by Chris Butler. I think the coding is great and as good as it could be for the C64. I think the sprites are nice and small, and it would have been an incredible measure to make those any larger, and there are more than one sprite on the screen at any one time, except for the end of level boss, who in this case spins around on our grave, and there's not much we can do about that. Again, finding the safe spots are crucial, and finding the right weapon is also crucial. I'm trying the bombs at this point, and it is possible if you concentrate on the bottom of that tree and work the angles, that guy will not hit us and we can continue. But I find this is quite difficult and challenging, and a number of things make it a dawdle, so as long as you can remember those numbers of things and those safe spots, you should be able to march through this game in perhaps 10, maybe 20 minutes. The game will take a lot longer simply because of that multi-load, which really does hack away at the player's endurance, and the sameness of the levels requiring us to not use that sword under any circumstances, but simply to run away as much as possible. Lobbing throwing stars in front of us can get a little samey and repetitive, and if you try to tackle those enemies head on, then you'll find yourself with an early bath. You can see I've just picked up another power-up which enhances that sword, and it gives us a few micropixels range, and a few micropixels in this game is really going to help. But you can see it is possible with mastery degrees of timing to get through all these guys, and I'm actually not bothering about my lives, and seemingly I can march through it no problem. But you can see that thing will even get through the enemy's bullets and absorb those for us, and that means that this pickup is actually a temporary shield that we can use to absorb anything. So there are some good points about this game, and there are some neat touches on the Commodore 64, but I find sometimes it's not amazing, and it could have been a little bit better. The scores for this game: Commodore Force gave it 78%, Lemon 64 is currently 80%, the Games Machine is 90, and Zap gave this 90%, which gives this game an average score of 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for viewing another Lemon 64 Play Guide and review. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you.